The council mocked Earth's fragile bodies until they saw one walk out of the furnace. Alive Ambassador Kethvar's crystalline form shimmered with barely concealed amusement as he watched the human delegation enter the council chambers. The creatures looked so soft. Their pale pink flesh seemed ready to tear at the slightest touch, and their primitive garments of woven fibers hung loosely over their vulnerable frames. "Are we truly to believe," Kethvar's voice resonated through the chamber's atmosphere processors, "that these fragile beings wish to join our galactic engineering corps?" The other council members shared his sentiment. Admiral Zexhi's chitinous exoskeleton clicked rhythmically, his species equivalent of laughter. The molten lords of Paraxis 7 remained silent, but their superheated bodies glowed brighter with what could only be described as contempt. Dr. Sarah Chen, Earth's lead representative, stood unfazed by the mockery. Her slight frame and graying hair made her appear even more insignificant among the towering alien forms. "We understand your concerns, honored council members. Perhaps a demonstration would be appropriate?" A demonstration? Kethvar's crystalline features shifted into what might have been a sneer. "Very well, human. But know that our core works in the most extreme environments imaginable. Our last assignment required repairs inside the molten core of a dying star. The temperature reached 3,000 degrees Celsius." "That seems reasonable," Dr. Chen replied calmly. The chamber fell silent. Even the atmospheric processors seemed to pause. Council leader Thaxmore, whose species had evolved in the vacuum of space, leaned forward. His voice carried the weight of millennia. "Human, your species' flesh liquefies at merely 100 degrees of your measurement scale. Do not waste our time with bravado." Dr. Chen nodded respectfully. "Then let us proceed to your testing facility." The testing chamber was a marvel of alien engineering, a fusion reactor designed to simulate stellar conditions. The viewing gallery provided a safe vantage point for the council members, protected by energy shields that could withstand planetary impacts. "The chamber will reach 3,500 degrees Celsius, announced the facility's chief engineer, a being of pure energy named Fluxendor. "Even our most heat-resistant species require environmental suits for protection." Dr. Chen examined the reactor through the observation window. Inside, metallic surfaces glowed white-hot, and the very air shimmered with lethal heat. She turned to a young man beside her, someone the council had barely noticed. "Marcus, are you ready?" Marcus Rivera looked unremarkable even by human standards. At 32, he was of average height and build, with dark hair and quiet brown eyes. He wore simple work clothes and carried what appeared to be a primitive breathing apparatus. "Just another day at the office, Doc," he said, checking his gear. The council members exchanged glances. Kethvar's crystalline form brightened, with anticipation of the spectacle. "Surely you don't expect this creature to survive even seconds in those conditions." "The human will be vaporized instantly," agreed Admiral Zexhi. "This is either madness or some form of elaborate suicide ritual." Dr. Chen ignored them, focusing on Marcus. "Remember, the damaged relay is approximately 50 meters from the entry point. The heat signature should guide you to it." Marcus nodded and walked toward the chamber's entrance. The massive doors designed to contain stellar-level energies began their slow opening sequence. The heat that escaped made even the council members step back from their shielded observation posts. Warning alarms blared as environmental systems worked to compensate for the thermal surge, and then Marcus stepped inside. The council waited for the inevitable. Seconds passed, then minutes. Visual confirmation. Fluxendor's voice carried disbelief. The human is walking through the chamber." On the display screens, thermal imaging showed Marcus's figure moving steadily through the inferno. His suit seemed to ripple and shift, but he pressed forward with methodical determination. "Impossible," whispered Kethvar. "No organic matter can survive those temperatures." Dr. Chen finally spoke, her voice cutting through the stunned silence. "You assume our bodies are a weakness, but you've never encountered a species that evolved on a planet where life itself was forged in extreme conditions." She gestured to another display showing Earth's geological history. Our world has seen ice ages and volcanic epochs. We've survived asteroid impacts and mass extinctions. Our ancestors walked across lava flows and dove into Arctic waters. We didn't just adapt to extremes, we conquered them. On screen, Marcus reached the damaged relay. His movements were precise, efficient, seemingly unaffected by the hellish environment around him. But his biology, Admiral Zexhai began, is more adaptable than you imagine, Dr. Chen interrupted. We call it the human thermal regulation system, but that's oversimplifying it. Our bodies don't just tolerate temperature variations, they actively manage them. Sweating, vasodilation, metabolic adjustment, emergency protein synthesis, and that's just the beginning. Marcus was now working on the relay, his tools somehow functioning despite the extreme heat. His suit, Kethvar started, is mostly for breathing apparatus and minor protection, Dr. Chen continued. The real protection comes from within. Specialized heat shock proteins, adapted from extremophile organisms found in our deepest ocean vents and hottest deserts. Ceramic matrix bone reinforcement developed from our volcanic region inhabitants. Enhanced cardiovascular systems that can redirect blood flow in ways you've never imagined. The display showed Marcus completing his work. The damaged relay glowed. With renewed energy, its systems restored. 18 minutes, announced Fluxendor, his energy form flickering with amazement. He's been inside for 18 minutes. Marcus began his walk back toward the exit, moving with the same steady pace. No hurry, no sign of distress. Council leader Thaxamor's voice carried a new note of respect. How many humans possess these modifications? Dr. Chen smiled. Every human who volunteered for the core program. We have 12,000 ready for deployment. The chamber doors opened, and Marcus stepped out. His suit steamed slightly, but he appeared completely unharmed. He pulled off his breathing mask and looked up at the observation deck. Relays fixed, he reported casually. Though you might want to upgrade those heat exchangers. They're running pretty inefficiently. The silence that followed was profound. Finally, Kethvar's crystalline form dimmed to a respectful glow. It appears we may have underestimated your species. Dr. Chen nodded. We're not the strongest or the fastest in the galaxy. We're not the smartest or the most technologically advanced, but we are perhaps the most stubborn. We don't know when to quit. Admiral Zexhai's chitinous clicking had stopped entirely. Your application to the engineering corps is approved. As the council members filed out, each lost in their own thoughts about what they had witnessed, Dr. Chen turned to Marcus. How do you feel? Marcus grinned, wiping sweat from his forehead. Like I could go for a cold beer and maybe a swim in the Arctic Ocean. Dr. Chen laughed. Save some energy, Marcus. Tomorrow we start repairs on a neutron star. Sounds fun, Marcus replied and meant it. Humanity had just announced its presence to the galaxy in the most human way possible, by walking into hell and fixing what was broken.